So welcome everybody. Welcome back to Webinar Wednesday from Sight and Sound Technology for the first week in February. The first week of spring, some people say, and then some others say it starts in March. So the jury's out on that, I think. My name is Stuart Lawler from Sight and Sound Technology, and my colleague Carl Braley is back with us again for Webinar Wednesday. So welcome back to Carl. Today we have the people behind RealSam are with us today. This very innovative mobile device with lots of AI built into it and a whole load of content available at your fingertips. We have Louise Humphreys and Martin Tickle from RealSam are joining us, and I'm really delighted to have Louise here in particular because Louise we had to cancel this event at very short notice just before Christmas. So we're delighted, Louise, to have you back again, and thanks for joining us. Now, if you'd like to get in touch with us today during the session, you can raise your hand by pressing Alt and Y if you're on Windows, Command and Y if you're on a Mac, or you can activate the raise hand button if you're on a mobile device. And similarly, you can press Alt and H if you'd like to chat on Windows, Command and H on the Mac, or activate a chat button if you're on a mobile device. If you are typing in chat, please make sure that you send your message to all panelists and attendees so that everybody in the audience can see the chat. And indeed, we often find there's some good conversations go on chat in parallel to the presentation. So it's good for us to be able to monitor those as well. Carl and I will be keeping a close eye on chat and raised hands, and we will stop for questions at key points during the afternoon. Just to, before I hand over to Louise and Martin, just to say that our next webinar event is our social hub, which runs midway through the month in partnership with our charity partner Seascape on the 17th of February. It's Thursday at 2 p.m. So watch out for more information on the social hub coming very shortly. So with that all done, I'm going to hand over to Louise Humphreys from RealSam. Louise, welcome again, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Stuart. It's a great honour to be here today. We're really excited. It's our first event with Sight and Sound, so thank you so much for having us. And yeah, we did want to come in December, but unfortunately the dreaded C word caught up with us, so we weren't able to get here. So this is really the first presentation we've given on this scale to launch our latest device, so RealSam Pocket version 4. For those of you who know a little bit about the business already, we've been around since 2018 in the UK. We're an Australian-owned business originally, but back in 2018, we joined forces with the RNIB and O2 to bring about a fully voice-controlled smartphone that was at that point one of the first in the marketplace, and we built it very much from the ground up for people with sight loss. So we continue to this day to partner with the RNIB and O2, but we are now rolling out, as I said, version 4. So we've got a number of new innovations that we've brought into the product that we launched only last week, so it really is hot off the press. And as the business has grown over the last couple of years, we've got a couple of other products in the marketplace that we can talk to you about today as well. So as Stuart mentioned, I'm Louise. I lead the UK team, and I'm supported today by Martin Tickle, who leads our partnerships and is often the face of our organisation for new customers as well. So he's very well qualified to explain all about the product, and we'll both try to answer any questions that you've got. So Martin, shall I hand over to you to introduce yourself and how we're going to run today?
So yeah, I'm Martin. I'm the face, I guess, as Louise just mentioned. My background prior to RealSam, I've worked in the NHS, I've worked in CAMS, and I've worked in special education as well. So I've got both a hands-on experience with the device, but also using devices like it in the real world. Did you want me to load the slideshow up?
Yes, please. Yeah, so we have got some slides for those who are able to follow them, but we're also very happy to take questions as we go. We're going to show you the latest version of the handset as well, so we'll demonstrate some of the key features that are on existing versions, but also the ones that are exclusively new to the brand new one. We'll also take you through the pricing and how that all works. And as we said, we're happy to take as many questions as come up today for those that maybe haven't tried the product out before. So yeah, thanks, Martin.
I think that's all good. So there we go. As Louise has mentioned, we're really happy to announce the Samsung XCover 5 is the new device for Pocket. So it's a good quality device, as everyone sort of expects from Samsung, being one of the world's leaders in technology, especially in the mobile sector. It comes with ease of life and quality of life improvements, bigger battery, faster processor, and that kind of thing. But the improved phone itself has given us the ability to build out new features, which are going to be, we believe, really, really useful and important features that will get used on a daily basis by people who use Pocket as a phone. I don't know why my arrow key is not working to move it to the next slide. The biggest feature that's coming on board, that's on board now, and we're going to be able to demonstrate in a little bit, is the phone has OCR and object recognition built into it. So you can use it to read a birthday or a Christmas card that comes through the post, or you can use it to read handwriting or any letters that come through that, you know, possibly you need to read. Then you can use the phone to read those back to you. It also has object recognition, so you'll be able to point the camera towards a pair of glasses or a mug or whatever it may be, and it will be able to tell you what it is that you are looking at. And the important thing for this is we needed a phone with a really good quality, strong camera. And obviously the camera quality is really important for picking up the finer details, especially in things like handwriting. And so we're really excited about this. Samsung have removed physical buttons. So if anyone who's familiar with the older devices from RealSam, they'll know that they originally had buttons on the front of the phone that you'd be able to press and talk. These have been removed by Samsung, and staying with Samsung and the quality that they provide was far more important for us. But what we have done is converted the screen of the phone, the sort of bottom third of the phone, into a tap to talk button. There's no need to hold it or anything like that. Just touch the screen and you'll be able to talk away. It works very, very almost identically. The only difference is there isn't a physical button there anymore. I have got a bunch of numbers that I'm not going to read out. Don't worry, but they will be, you know, we can make them available for anyone who wants to read through them and takes an interest in it. The important things to note are the phone runs faster. It has a stronger processor, more memory, which means the phone runs quicker, it's more stable. It's got a bigger battery, which means it will last longer between charges as well, which is also really important. Increased radio bands. What that means in a real life context is you will find you lose signal less and you'll be able to pick up signal more frequently in areas. So people like myself who live out in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, we always struggle with phone signal, and this will hopefully be able to remove that problem. There's a bigger screen. Again, that's really useful for people who still use some of their vision and want to be able to use the screen to you know, use the video magnifier on the screen if they want to read things, and using the sight assisted menu as well. And then it continues to have a headphone jack, which I never thought would become a really exciting feature as it was the standard. But we've seen with Apple and Samsung that they're getting rid of them more and more and more, but we're proud to say it's still there, so you can still use your existing headphones and speakers. Again, anyone who's familiar with the old Pocket, it's the same size and same weight, barring a few millimeters. I've got a 11 Pro for comparison, not the Max, the normal size phone, and they're basically identical. In fact, my iPhone's heavier, which is not always a good thing. It is a rugged phone. Basically, it's got a case built into it. It's It's the easiest way of describing it. It's drop proof, it's waterproof, it's dust resistant, should I say. So you can drop it in the sink, you could drop it in the bath, you know, fall in a puddle, whatever it may be, the phone's going to be absolutely fine. It's going to keep working. Falls out of your pocket, if you knock it off a table, again, it's going to be okay. I will caveat that with, please don't chuck it off a roof or out of a window. It's probably not what it means when it says it's drop proof, but be glad to know it's a very hard little device. I guess this, before we get on to demonstrating it and actually showing it in action, we'll cover off the costs, as that's what everyone wants to know, and that's the thing. That's always the questions that come up. So we've got several options. Hopefully there is an option that suits you. They are priced at different points, and there's lots of flexibility with what we've got on offer. You can get the device completely SIM-free, just one-time payment. It's yours. You've got no contract or future obligations. The phone is unlocked, so you pop any old SIM card in there, and that's a one-time payment of £779. And like I say, it's completely unlocked. You could go with O2, which is our contract provider, or you could go with anyone else. So if you've already got a contract or a pay-as-you-go SIM, that's an option there for you. Or we have 2 O2 contracts available. The most popular one is our 3 GB plan at £26.99 a month. It runs for 2 years. There's nothing up front, and there's no additional hidden charges. It will always just be a flat £26.99 a month for the 2 years. Or it goes up a little bit more if you want to go to a 10 GB plan. Always advise, if you're going to be using it at home and you've got Wi-Fi, save yourself a couple of pounds and go for the cheaper option. And all of our devices, whether it's a contract or not, has a 60-day return window. It's not something I've ever experienced. Going to getting a phone contract in general is the ability to you know, return it and try it out. And we're aware there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. So we want people to be able to take the leap of faith and try it out and get some hands-on experience with it without the pressure of having to return it within 14 days and making decisions that maybe don't benefit them in the long run. So you've got 2 months from the day it turns up to try it out and see how you go with it. And of course, there's no fuss if it needs to be returned back to us. We've got ongoing unlimited support from our dedicated team in Peterborough. And you can talk to them about any needs or any support or guidance that you need with the device, whatever it may be. We're always happy to stop and have a chat. Sometimes you might even be speaking to myself, as I like to help out sometimes as well. So we're a really, really friendly bunch. And I guess the last point is all updates, any new features that get rolled out, any new and exciting functions that we bring to the device in the future will always be available to customers. So you're never going to have to purchase any new features that we upload to the device, or if you've had it for a year and we've released something new and exciting, you can rest assured that you will also get that new and exciting feature too. So exciting stuff for 2022, and there are no dates set for these just yet, but these are what we're aiming to bring on board. We'll have Spotify, which is exciting, as well as being able to use the camera as a camera, an email and calendar, object recognition I need to remove from there because it's on now, and a feature called Where's My Pocket, which gives you the ability to go on your web browser and find out where you've put your phone. So if you've left it in the garden, I've done it a few times. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it does happen. If I've left it in the garden, I can go on the computer and be like, where have I left it? And that option's there. Okay. We'll get to demonstrating the device. Was there anything you wanted to add, Louise?
I think maybe just one other thing to mention just from this slide is that as I mentioned, we've been in the UK since 2018. That's actually the only country that we've actively had Pocket on sale. We are now, as a business, just launching in the US as well. So Last week we had our first major conference, an assistive technology conference that we launched Pocket at. So it's exciting times for the organisation that we're able to bring the innovation that we started with here in the UK, and we've learned from the customers in the UK, and we're now rolling it out in the US as well. So yeah, so that's only a good thing really in terms of the growth of the business, which means that we'll be able to add more features to both products over time as well. So exciting times.
Sharing now, so I can showcase the phone a bit better. Just already turned it off. What I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna go through every single feature in detail, because a lot of the features work very, very similar to what people already know and sort of have experienced with Apple and Google and Alexa and so on. But I'll showcase what makes us different and what extra things you can do with our software. And of course, I'm happy to show it if people specifically want to see it. The real exciting thing and the feature that most people like to talk to me about is the ability to listen to newspapers and listen to books. You've got access to the whole RNIB newsagent service. It's normally a paid for service, but it's not with us. It comes with the phone and there's no need to sign up to anything either. It just works straight from day one. And that has around, I think it's about 110 to 120 newspapers all over the UK. You've got your big national ones like The Guardian and The Times and so on. But you also got more regional, local ones. So my local newspaper, the Lincolnshire Echo, is on there. Wherever, you know, if you're not from Lincolnshire, it's not appropriate, but there are various ones, including some Scottish and Irish newspapers as well. And then there's the books. There is, I think it's around over 100,000 audiobooks now. Probably easier to say there's more books than you have moments in a day to listen to them. And that's comprised of 5 different library sources. So there is the RNIB, it's the largest one and probably the one most people are familiar with. Traditionally, you've had to send off for USB sticks or other forms of physical media, but not anymore. You can just stream it directly on your phone. Whether that be in your house or if you're out on a walk or if you've gone on holiday, whatever it may be, you've got that whole library in your pocket, which you can access at any point. Then there's Calibre, and there is a library called LibriVox. Then there's Project Gutenberg and Torch Trust, which is Christian literature. All of them are slightly different, and the reason for that is really you don't want 5 different versions of the exact same thing. You want them all to be slightly different, so there's a stronger chance that you can find exactly what it is you're looking for. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate the newspaper, because that's the fastest, easiest and simplest one, and then I'll show you how the books work, because there's a bit more you can do with that. So if I try and find The Guardian, just turn my volume right up so you can hear it.
That's maximum volume.
Read me The Guardian.
You are reading The Guardian from 15 days ago. The first page of 71 unread headlines from the news section. 1. UK sending anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. 2. Inquiry launched into moan over VIP lane deal. 3. Cummings accuses PM of lying over no 10 party. 4. A bottle of Warhol 75 please when art and wine collide. 5. Inside the 18th of January 2022 4 sections every weekday 80. Select one or say next to move on.
So what you got there is it reads you 5 headlines at a time. It's not going to read you word for word, cover to cover, because that would be frustrating and it would take a long time. So it gives you 5 headlines. I can either pick one now or I could ask for 5 more. If I just pick option number 3. 3.
Cummings accuses PM of lying over no 10 party. Cummings accuses the PM of lying over party at no 10. Rowena Mason, Heather Stewart. Dominic.
Cancel.
Okay, Martin. It's cancelled.
There you go. So it reads you the headline, and then it'll just read you the article, and you can just go through them. You can narrow it down. So this is something that's dependent on the newspaper itself. It's not something we have complete control of. It's based on how they sort of publish and segment them, but you can search via sections as well. So if you are like me and you're not interested in politics and world events and celebrities, and all you really care about is the football, then I can just ask it specifically to just read me the sports section. So if I ask the Telegraph, for example, because I know they have a sports section, or they should do at least, read me the sports section of the Telegraph.
I'm afraid the Daily Telegraph doesn't have the sports of the Telegraph sections of the day.
Cancel.
Okay, Martin, it's cancelled.
Probably not the best example, but depending on what newspaper it is, obviously they'll have a sports section. You'll be able to just ask for that, and it'll only read headlines and articles from sports. Same goes for various other topics as well. I just use that as an example because I like sports.
I think the Times is a sports section, Martin, which I've been able to find before. But
the Times,
yeah. So anyone who, maybe isn't quite as right wing, they can pick up the Times instead. There is a question that just jumped up on the chat there. I might just answer it quickly while Martin's working out which book he wants to read. There was a question about can you download apps? Now, right now, Pocket doesn't allow individuals to freely download apps, but one of the innovations we're working on right now is to actually allow access to a core range of apps that customers tell us are important for them. So specifically, people have asked right now for WhatsApp, for some social media options, and email and a calendar. So while they're not all necessarily apps, they're features. One of the core things that is different for us is the fact that the end-to-end experience is operated by voice. So every time we build in a new feature, we want to make sure that we stay true to that original functionality. So that's why it does often take us a little bit longer to add lots and lots of new features. But by the summer of this year, we will have added in a number of core new apps. So I think the question specifically was about seeing AI. So the way that we often approach any new innovation is we go out to our customer base and those that aren't existing customers, seek feedback, and actually build out the user case really for anything else to be developed. So seeing AI is definitely one that we can take forward. There was a second question there that's just popped up about the RNIB news agent and being 15 days old. Now, I was actually going to mention that just when Martin started, but I didn't want to interrupt. Those of you who are already subscribed to the RNIB news agent will know that they've actually been experiencing a server issue for the last 2 weeks. And so any digital source that pulls from the RNIB has actually been offline for 2 weeks. We're working with them as closely as we possibly can to reinstate that service, but fundamentally it is at their end. So if you are currently a digital subscriber to the RNIB service, it does mean that we're unable to actually pull the latest version. We have other newspaper services within Pocket that are completely up to date. So for example, there's a global newspaper called The Conversation. The most recent version of that is currently running, but there is a slight issue as we stand today with the RNIB service. So our customers who rely on that newspaper service are really upset about it at the moment, and they're having to work with the RNIB closely to see if there's any other way they can access news. Thankfully, Pocket has around 10 dedicated news radio stations that we can pull from. We also access podcasts from all over the world, and they include a large number of news podcasts as well. So I guess that's one of the key benefits of our service, is that we do pull from so many different media sources that even if one temporarily goes down because of an issue with a third party, our customers are still able to stay online and connected to current affairs and entertainment. So that was the answer to that question. I think they are the questions for now. So I'll pause. And Martin, I'll go back to you if that's okay.
No, that's fine. One thing I did want to say about the newspaper situation at the RNIB, I've been accessing the RNIB newspapers for just under 2 years now. This is the first time I've experienced any issues on their end. So historically, and I'm sure going forward, it's a very stable service. It's just really poorly timed that I'm trying to show it to you now while they're having issues. But rest assured, it works absolutely fine the rest of the time. So what I'll do is I'll showcase the books, and then we'll move away from the content, and I'll show you all the exciting things about OCR and object recognition. So if I want to find a book, I'm going to use Harry Potter as an example, mostly because I don't want people to know my reading habits. Find me a book about Harry Potter.
Listing available book sources. 1. Recent books. 2. My bookshelf. 3. RNIB library. 4. Caliber audio. 5. LibriVox audio books. 6. Torchcraft library. 7. Project Gutenberg. Say a number or words from the options.
So what you heard there is all the various content sources. Obviously, they're the libraries that I mentioned earlier, but the two that are worth taking note of, there's your recent books. So this question comes up a lot when I talk to people about whether they have to keep finding a book that they want to listen to, and do they need to search for it again? The answer to that is no. As soon as you start listening to a book, it's saved into your recent books, and it will stay there until you choose to get rid of it. So if you pick up a book, listen to it, halfway through, put it down, it doesn't matter if it's a day, a week, or 12 months, it will still be sat there in your bookshelf, and you'll be able to listen to it and pick up where you left off. You can obviously rewind a little bit as well if you've forgotten where you were. That's not a problem. And then there's the bookshelf. The difference between the two is the bookshelf is books that you can basically save for later. So you can add it to your bookshelf, and if you're searching for, I don't know, I'm searching for a book about cricket and I find one I want to listen to, but I don't want to listen, that's not what I'm looking for right now. I can save it to my bookshelf and then carry on looking for the specific book that I'm interested in. So it's quite a handy little feature. It's an example of one of those things that a lot of our customers said they wanted, and it was a feature that they felt was going to be really important and beneficial. So we did that. And it's just an example of us listening and developing, and the community who use the Pocket really driving the direction that it goes. So I'll pick RNIB, which, if I remember rightly, is option number 3. 3.
The RNIB library is the largest of its kind in Europe, and it's completely free with over 60,000 items in the collection. Select a book. Initial 5,000. 1. Fair Game Historia Rail by Kate Roberts. 2. A Kestrel for a Knave by Barry Hines. 3. Time of the Lilac by Renee Chan. 4. The Lone Star Ranger by Zane Grey. 5. Memory by Margaret Lee. Say a number or words from the options, or say next to advance. You can also say jump forward or backwards a number. You can refine by saying things like genre non-fiction. In case you want to add a book to your bookshelf, say add and its number.
What I'll do is I'll just pick option number 1, just so you can experience what it's like with an audiobook playing. 1.
You selected Fair Game Historia Rail. Say, play, or
play.
Sorry, I missed that.
Play.
Reading Fair Game Historia Rail. Starting Fair Game Historia Rail. Please wait.
We go. Cancel.
Thank you. What's next?
So it's important to note, when you listen to an audiobook, it's not the phone's voice that'll be reading to you, but it is one of the voice actors or the narrators that read the book. So it works exactly the same way audiobooks work in other formats. With the exception of books from the Project Gutenberg library, because those are books built for e-readers like Kindles, they don't have any voice recording for them. but instead of struggling and trying to read something on a Kindle, or reading with very enlarged font, which we know isn't ideal and it's hard to read a book that way, the phone is able to read it for you. So it's the only time you'll ever hear the phone's voice, when you're listening to a book. So next up, we'll go into the OCR and the object recognition. I've got a few things on my desk that I've got lined up, very Blue Peter style, that I'm going to show you all, including some of my incredibly scruffy handwriting. So I'll show you the OCR first. That's the thing most people are interested in. I'm sure it's going to bring up some questions, so we can do that first, and then I'll show you object recognition, which is a bit more straightforward. So I've got one of my business cards, which I'll show you first, and then I'll demonstrate handwriting. Open magnifier.
Magnifier starting.
If you open the magnifier, you say open magnifier, and it brings up the camera, so you can see behind me is my guitar and some pictures on the wall. If I put the business card in the frame,
Frozen.
so you can see there's a picture of it now.
Show action.
Press action at the top. Now, normally what you do is you have your finger on the screen and it reads it back to you, but for the sake of making this as sort of fluid as possible, I'm just going to tap them. So what I'll do is I'll press text recognition.
Sending your request. Image is processing. Processing finished. The text in the image is RealThingai. Simple talking solutions for people living with sight loss and print disabilities. www.realsam.co.uk.
So there you go. Obviously it read the title out as individual letters. That's probably more to do with our font and styling than anything else. And it can, as you heard, it can read a website as well. So it's not going to get confused and say, assume www is a word, but it understands that's a website and reads it in a way that you'll understand. What I'll do now is I'll just write something. I don't know. We're going to have fun with this.
I was saying to Martin this morning, have you not got any birthday cards or Christmas cards lying around your house that we can just use to demonstrate it? But he reminded me that, yeah, he's a guy in his early 30s. He doesn't keep that kind of stuff in his office anymore. But it is actually very accurate on reading handwritten text. So I think that's probably one of the things that we would find most useful for it to be able to read. It also is good on if you need it to read cards like numbers or anything like that, that's all possible. There's a question just popped up from Graham about how it operates. Now, essentially, if you run your finger across the screen, all of the different voice commands will read out. So it will read out the position where you can freeze the picture, and then at the top of the screen it has a number of different options that are again read back to you just by the position that you move your finger across the screen. On the top far left, there is a series of accessibility options to help you with magnifying in and out, changing the color, changing the contrast of an image that you would take. And then each of those would be read as you would go down the screen, so you can toggle between different options according to your preference. And then slightly to the side of that is where you have the options for the object recognition and the character recognition. So it does probably take a tiny bit of getting used to, because at the moment it is controlled all through your finger. One of the things that we're working on imminently to release as an addition to this service is to make it all fully voice controlled. So capturing the image, turning on the OCR, altering the contrast, altering the magnification will all become complete voice controls. But as I said, right now they are controlled by your finger. Martin is a sighted member of our team, so he probably essentially just jumped to the thing that would demonstrate quickly enough, but we could equally demonstrate it by running your finger across the screen and getting those voice commands.
What I'll do is I've written something out now. So if I just put my finger on the
Text in the images.
it's gonna
unfreeze.
I move my finger down, it says unfreeze, and release my finger. And now I need to point it at this poorly written. My book's doing that thing where the page is turning over because it's. So if I put my finger on the screen again and just move it down, I know you're struggling to see this, but I only have two hands, unfortunately.
Frozen.
So I let go, and then again, I'll put my finger on the screen.
Show actions.
Move it, and then put my finger on the screen again. I always find when I do this, it's easy to put your finger in the middle of the screen and then move up or down depending on what it is you want to do. So if I go up,
Detect text recognition. Sending your request.
that's how
Image
it's
is
done.
processing.
You just wait for the option that you hear. If that's the one you want,
Processing
you
finished.
just
The text
release
in
your
the
finger.
image is, hello everyone. I hope you're enjoying this presentation.
That's impressive because my handwriting is shocking. I write like a pharmacist, or at least that's what my English teacher used to say to me at school. You can see it's, well, possibly not actually, because the glare is quite bad. It's very easy to navigate without actually looking at the screen. Just for the sake of the presentation, I'm doing it. So that's it for OCR. It can read print. So if you've got, like I mentioned earlier, a letter in the post, whoever it may be from, it will be able to read that to you. But also a birthday card or a Christmas card, like Louise mentions. I don't keep them. I ask my family not to send them also, because it's just, I don't like clutter. But if you get a card or a handwritten letter or a postcard from a friend that's gone on holiday, it will be able to read even the most awful of handwriting. So it's quite strong in that sense. What I'll be able to do next is the object recognition. So it works very similar in that you go through the magnifier and you select the option, but I'll still go through it with you. Some questions first before I do that, because I know that the OCR is going to bring stuff up.
So there was a question, I'll start at the top, Martin, you can jump in as well. So Paul Chapman, can you ask it to go to the website it just read? No, you can't actually at the moment, but that would be a good idea, I think, if it was able to do that. So I will make a note of that one, because that does sound like a good thing for us to explore. Graham, you're asked to put the text in the frame. Is it meant for use by those with some vision? Look, I suppose the reality is that people who have some vision are going to find it easier to use as it is today. But this is a feature that we wanted to launch, essentially the best version that we had available right now. And this is the feature that we're continuing to build behind the scenes. So I mentioned that we're going to put more voice controls on it, and that will include controls that will say more about move to the left, move to the right, in focus, not in focus. It picks up text with unbelievable accuracy, considering so, you know, things that are very blurred actually still manage to get picked up. So it doesn't rely on you taking a perfect image, I suppose, is the point. So if you know you've got a letter in front of you, you can essentially just take a photo and it will work as long as the picture is captured at all. So I don't know if that's a perfect answer for you, but essentially it does help you to focus it, but you can just take a kind of rough image, really, and it will still pick up very well.
Samantha asks if it requires Wi-Fi. It does require an internet connection. That doesn't necessarily have to be Wi-Fi, though. You can use mobile data. So if you've got one of our contract SIMs, obviously that's got a data plan, which means you'll be able to use it out and about. But obviously most SIM cards now have some data, so it doesn't need Wi-Fi, but it would need signal, yes.
Okay. I think, do you want to, sorry guys, this is really interesting. Martin, do you have more demo? Do you have more to show us, or would you like to go for some raised hands questions?
I was just going to showcase the object recognition.
Yeah, oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, so it'll be another 60 seconds.
Oh no, work away by all means, and then we'll go for perfect.
Yeah, okay. So it works in the same way.
Magnifier exited.
Open magnifier.
Magnifier starting.
This is where it's going to be interesting if it picks up other things. I'll move the dog bed. So what is, if I take a picture, even from here, I don't have to go over, but there's a guitar in the corner of my room.
Frozen.
And again, if I just do it this way.
Show actions.
And then
Detect sending your request.
So the
Images
other-
exit. Processing
Magnifier
finished.
exited.
Oh, I pressed a button. I broke it. Bear with. Open magnifier.
Magnifier starting.
That was me and my
Frozen.
fumbling.
Show actions.
So go back to where we were. So thumb or finger on the screen.
Detect object.
That's the option I want. So
Sending
release.
your request. Image is processing. Processing finished. The objects in the image are guitar, leisure activities, musical instrument, electric guitar.
So it's giving me a couple of options. It's a guitar, an electric guitar, musical instrument. Sometimes it will give that if it's unsure if it's one of two things. But for instance, if it's something very, very simple and straightforward, like an apple, then it will know it instantly. It's an apple. It's not going to come back and say the Beatles music logo or anything silly like that. I guess the other option I'll have to show you, because it works for small things as well. Probably
Frozen.
should be wearing these, but for the sake of the presentation, I'm using them as a prop. I've got my glasses. Again,
Show actions.
show actions, finger in the middle, go up.
Detect object. Sending your request. Image is processing. Processing finished. The objects in the image are glasses, accessories, accessory, limit reached, accessory.
So it knows it's a pair of glasses. It also says accessories, just in case. Obviously, you're going to use it to make sure, you're going to know if roughly what it is you're looking for. If it's a dresser or I don't know, a coffee table and there's some bits and bobs, then you're going to know roughly what it is you're looking for. And that'll be refined even more as more people use it, because at the end of the day, the best testing you can do and the real changes and improvements come from when people use it and then tell us how we can do it better. That's it for sort of demonstrating all of that. There are other features as well. Obviously, it's a phone. You can use it as a phone. But I don't need to tell you guys how to use that. If I want to make a phone call, I would just say call Louise and it would make that phone call for me. Same with a text message. I'd just say send a message to Louise and Pocket will say, what do I want the message to say? And I just talk into it. So it works in a very familiar way to the way other phones would work in that instance.
There is, I guess, one more suite of features that we have within the phone that the OCR and object recognition are loosely part of, but we do have a couple more what we call assistance features. So when we think about Pocket, we tend to have three different categories of features. One is around communication, so obviously phone calls and messaging. The second is around entertainment. So we've spoken to you about the books and the newspapers and magazines and podcasts and everything there. The assistance features are all about helping people to remain independent. So we have a direct access into Be My Eyes. So you can essentially hit the screen on the phone, ask for Be My Eyes, and you're instantly connected to a video call through that service. We have a reminders setting on the phone, which is great. It means that you can remind yourself to turn the oven off in 15 minutes if you're the kind of person like me who goes off and does something and forgets all about it. You can ask for an update on the weather. You can ask where you are. So if you are out and you wanted an exact location for where you are, the Pocket will be able to tell you your exact location. And we also have what we call an emergency call assistant, which is a feature that is available through other smartphones as well. But the way ours works is that you can essentially, again, tap that screen and say, call emergency assistant. It will call your nominated number one assistant person that you've programmed into your phone. it will also simultaneously send a message to anybody that you have tagged as an emergency assistant. That message will say that you have you've pressed your emergency assistant button, and again it will give the exact location of where you are. So if that is something that you think would be useful, then that is a good feature, we believe, as part of our suite as well. I think there was one message higher up as well, I just capture it at the same time now, around Zoom. I wasn't sure whether the person was asking whether it was the Zoom magnifier or Zoom as in video calls. But we have a web portal that we allow people to either use themselves, or a loved one can go in, and you can program contacts into that. So obviously it can be your friends and family members, but one thing you can also do is program in Zoom meetings. So every meeting that you would do through the service of Zoom that we're on today would have a unique telephone number. Every meeting that you might join regularly, then you could add that number into your contacts. So anytime you wanted to join that meeting, be it Stuart's webinar Wednesday, or a social group that you might attend through Zoom, you can have that as a program contact. And in the same way as you would say call Martin, you could say call webinar Wednesday, and you would get connected straight into the call that way. So it's a bit of a backdoor way into Zoom. It's not that you're loading the Zoom app, but you're actually just calling directly into the Zoom service. So that's another assistance feature that we built last year, obviously for obvious reasons, really. A lot more people were using Zoom, and there was a real need amongst our customer group to stay connected through that. Okay, I think Stuart, we can hand over to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Martin. Wow, it's an amazing array of facilities and features built into that device, and by all, I guess it's only going to get better and improve. Yeah, I know there's lots of things that you guys are kind of looking at, so it's very exciting. Okay, so let's have a look at, maybe, I know there's one or two raised hands. We might go over to Carl and just have a catch up on the raised hands and other bits and pieces going on in the room. So
we just have one hand at the moment, Mr. John
okay.
Wells.
Okay, John, we'd love to hear from you.
Yourself, John. Mr. Wells.
And just while John is doing that, if you want to raise your hand, it's Alt and Y, or you can access the raised hand option on your app of choice for Zoom. John,
come on, John. I know, John.
Oh, you know. Oh, okay. I thought you were being a bit familiar.
Mr. Wells, right? You're going to have to wait your turn,
right, John,
Mr. Wells.
I'm going
to go to Andrew Summers. Good
Andrew's
afternoon, Andrew.
Regular attendee from Glasgow. Hello, Andrew.
Hello,
hi,
good afternoon. Hello, how are you?
Good.
I'm very well, thank you, Stuart. It's good to be back. It seems a very great device. It probably benefit people with sort of like the elderly more, because it hasn't got all the complicated apps that we can already download from other phones. The other question I've got is about the SIM cards. What size of SIM cards does it take?
So I think probably your first point, Andrew, was maybe more of a comment, but absolutely right. We do often appeal to older members of the blind and partially sighted community who actually want simplicity above anything else. So people who they find touchscreens complicated, they don't necessarily want to have to navigate lots and lots of apps. They just really want that simplicity of the voice interface and features that matter most to them. So we're obviously always looking to understand what are those features that matter most, but those core features around book libraries, the news, and staying connected to loved ones with the added support of those key assistance features does tend to appeal to often a slightly older customer, plus that extra customer service that we offer. So I think our customer support team would actually say that many of our customers now feel like, you know, close friends because they speak to them all the time. But people do call in every week and ask for help and advice, and we're happy to give it because it, you know, fundamentally means that people are getting more from their device. The second question, the SIM card has changed on the XCover 5, so it's the smallest one. I think it's the nano SIM, Martin, am I right? Yeah, so
yeah, that's
the
what's
XCover
called.
4 was the slightly larger one, but this one is the slightly smaller one. So if you buy the phone with a plan included, a mobile plan, O2 put that SIM card in for you. So I think that's one of the things that, you know, anyone would find fiddly to put those SIM cards into a phone. So that is probably one of the key benefits of buying it with the O2 plan, that you can get the SIM card already set up and ready to go. So essentially when you take it out of the box, it works straight away. And then our team we aim to call on day one to help people get set up on their home Wi-Fi, because again, that's just another thing that can be a little bit fiddly. We can do it fully by voice, but we want to help people to do that, because, you know, it's not often easy to do. You can use Pocket with a SIM card of your choice, so you can essentially buy it without a SIM card. You can own the device straight away and get a SIM card that perhaps has a better service in the area where you live. But yeah, it would be the smallest one that you can get.
It's worth noting now, and it's been this way for a couple of years, SIM cards, I imagine it's like a Russian doll. So you get the big one, but you can push out the smaller sizes. So any SIM card you get, it's got all the sizes that you need, and you just push out the one that you need most for your phone. So if your SIM cards, you know, you've had it for sort of the last 24 months, then there's a very, very strong chance it's one of the new ones that you can just pick the size that's needed, and you can actually put them back together if you need to as well, which I've done before.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks Andrew for your question. I think we have a couple of other hands raised, so we might keep moving.
I'm talking away and muted, which doesn't really help, does it?
No change, Carl, no change.
I know. You'd have thought I'd have learned it by now after 2.5 years of doing this, wouldn't you? Tina Arbery, it's your floor.
Just need to unmute yourself, Tina, and we'd love to hear your question. Hey, Tina, just press the unmute button.
No, I'm going to move on.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, yep, you're there.
Sorry about that. It's because I'm on a Braille Light Plus, you see, and it's just finding the unmute button. 2 questions. Well, they are linked. Firstly, is the Pocket hearing aid compatible? And secondly, has it got the loop system on it?
So in terms of hearing aid compatible, it has Bluetooth connectivity. So if you've got Bluetooth hearing aids, you can actually connect it in to via Bluetooth to your hearing aids. I must admit, I'm not 100% sure on the loop question. Do you know, Martin?
It's not out of the box, but there is a little add-on you can get. We don't sell them, but they are readily available, and they go into the headphone jack, and they can work that way. So if that's an obstacle, there is a workaround, but it's one of those where we're kind of restricted based on Samsung's hardware.
Yeah. And one thing to mention, Tina, as well, if I know I keep saying these are the things we're doing, but genuinely creating links into the hearing aids control apps that most of the major manufacturers each have one of their own is one of those core features that we're bringing in the summer. So we're just working through, is it, you know, the Siemens one, the Phonak one, who are the core manufacturer apps that we really need to ensure that we can create the voice controls for the hearing aid so that they come into our suite, because we're very mindful, particularly with our older clientele, that there is a correlation often between hearing loss and sight loss. So making the phone as enabled for people with hearing impairment as well is high up our list of priorities. So if you've got any feedback around what we could do to support you or someone that you're thinking about, we would love to hear that as well.
Yeah, because I have 2 hearing aids, and if you're in an area where there's a lot of noise going on, sometimes if you have a loop system, then it enhances the sound a bit more, and you can hear a bit better what the phone's doing rather than having blah, 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 blah in the background.
Yeah, like the Bluetooth is probably the best way if you do have Bluetooth enabled hearing aids, because then it would essentially become one of the channels that you would be able to program your hearing aids to. But for those who don't, yeah, we can certainly look at the improvements we can make to the loop system. My past world was actually in hearing loss, so I feel like this is maybe a subject that I've got a bit more knowledge on than others. So yeah, it is a passion point for me to make sure that we get that hearing loss compatibility working well too.
Oh, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you, Tina. Right, just get that. Graham Page.
Hello.
Hey,
First of all,
Graham.
so you can hear me okay, yeah?
Hi, Graham.
Brilliant. Okay, so 2 quick points. First of all, the verbosity. And I noticed that when it's reading book, it's always even more verbal. There's even more verbiage there than there would be with a smart speaker. So each time you start reading a bit of a book, you get told, when you move through it, you get retold the percentage you are through the book every time, and then the book's read. That verbosity can get a bit wearing. Is there any plan to either take into account what we've learned from smart speakers? Because I realise this came out before any smart speakers. So I suppose that would be, one question. It even says things as though it's trying to be a person, like jolly good and fine, and and it's just a bit much for a lot of people, I think, particularly as they get used to the product.
Yeah, actually, again, I'm going to sound like a scratch record, but yes, there is a plan, because you're right. I think when people first get the device, often that additional support, I guess I'll use as a word, is helpful. But as you get more familiar, you're right, people don't necessarily need the same level of prompts. So we're looking at how can we tailor that, so people can even potentially select a level of support. So shortcut versus long explanations, or just essentially us to reduce it generally. So again, I said it to Tina, but it would be great to get some specific feedback from you, Graham, on how we can do that, because it is genuinely something that we only spoke about it, I think, yesterday. So yeah, it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, and a quick other question which I raised in the chat, but when you talk about the reminders, can you ask it to remind you to do something a certain date, like say dental appointment February the 23rd at 2 p.m?
It isn't that specific, no. So you can ask in a time period. You can't necessarily ask for a certain date to be pinned to a calendar as such. So you could say in 3 hours, remind me to take the rubbish out, but yeah, not on the 12th of December I've got.
Because I think that one of the problems that a lot of blind people have, again, who are older, I've noticed this from experience of work myself. I mean, as a blind person, for me, I can use a smartphone, I can use Google Calendar, I can even write a calendar entry in a Braille book if I don't have any electronics to hand. But for a lot of people who are recently newly blind, one of the real big problems they have is a calendar. So it'd be a really good feature. I mean, maybe other people don't actually want that, and it's just me imagining they do. But
no, I think you're right. I think we do know that there's certain things that we should be building out, and particularly as I suppose an older generation is increasingly tech savvy and active, and looking to stay connected through email and whatever else it might be. So it's good feedback, and that's why these sessions are great, really, because we can talk to people who are real life users and real life customers to understand what they need. I suppose one thing about RealSam is we are still quite a small organisation, but in many ways that's good because it makes us flexible. And we meet as a team every Tuesday and we collate all of the feedback that we've had from customers. Every customer can actually leave us feedback through Pocket as well. So, you know, you can't necessarily do that with your iPhone. You can just press the screen on Pocket and say the word feedback and give us some feedback. And we collate that. And every single week we look at it and we rank it and we essentially use that to build out the prioritization for new features. And in the features that we've just released with this particular product, we actually went out to I think it was around 25 people, but we asked the R&IB to recruit 25 people for us to interview who'd never used our technology. And we asked people about their pain points, and around text reading and navigation support were two of the areas that came out on top as frustrations. So that's why we focused our development around the OCR and the object recognition. We forgot to mention as well that we do actually have a navigation assistant as well. So what's great is that, unlike, I guess, a traditional Google Maps where you can just punch in a postcode and walk a route, we have a fully customizable guidance, so you can design routes. So if I know that I want to go to a particular store, I can map out that route, but I can pinpoint my own particular landmark. So I can pinpoint my steep curb or a tree that's, you know, particularly low hanging, or a, you know, a pothole or something like that, so that when I'm taking that route in the future, I know that those things that are actually personalized to me are coming up on my route as well. So yeah, that's another feature that we probably should have mentioned in that core assistance range.
Yeah, and just to expand on that GPS functionality, it's a weird case of using it, but it's something I genuinely have used, because it doesn't rely on Google Maps and it uses coordinates and actual GPS in. You can go off the track as it was. So obviously Google Maps works really well if you're on a street, but going back to what I said earlier about signal, I live in the middle of the Lincolnshire countryside, which is just vast fields of there's nothing for 20 miles. So I can take my dog and go for a real long ramble. And when I start that, I'll set the gate that I use to get into the field as a location, and I can just go anywhere. And I know that, you know, there's no landmarks, it's just trees and brush and grass. And that Pocket will be able to navigate me back to that point, even though there's no roads and there's no landmarks and there's no discernible sort of way of navigating that through Google Maps. It's a weird case of how it's used, but it just goes to show how powerful it is, and it's not reliant upon things like addresses and roads.
Brilliant. Thanks, Martin, and thanks, Graham, for the questions. Do we have any more raised hands,
We do.
Carl?
Raymond Bruff, it's all yours.
Hi, Raymond.
Raymond.
You just need to unmute yourself. Do we have? We don't have Raymond.
I think we did.
Oh.
And then it went again. Okay, if you want to try again in a moment, Raymond, I'll take that away for a second.
Okay, if there's anybody else who wants to raise their hand, Alton Y, if you want to raise your hand and ask a quick question. We're kind of reaching the end of the session. We do appreciate Louise and Martin giving us their time this afternoon. Louise, I suppose most importantly, maybe if people want to follow up with you or want to get their hands on this technology, how can they make it start?
Yes, so actually everyone who's attended today, we wanted to start with a thank you and actually offer everyone a free 6-month subscription to our smart speaker product. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's available on Alexa and on Google speakers. So anybody who is interested to give RealSam a try, you can access some of our book content, our podcasts, and some of our other functionality, just to even get used to the interface. And you could give us a call and we'll sort that out. So our telephone number is 01733 514 612, and just quote the webinar Wednesday, and we'll be happy to organise that smart speaker offer for you. If you are interested in Pocket, we'd love that as well. So again, you can call up and we'll find out more over the phone, or you can jump onto our website, which is realsam.co.uk. There's a shop within our website, so you can buy online if that's of interest, or as I said, give us a call. And again, anyone who has attended this session, we have an extra special offer, and we'll offer everybody their 3rd month free. So if you sign up to the XCover 5 on the 3 GB plan, that would represent a £26.99 saving on your 2-year contract. So no obligation at all for everybody to access the smart speaker subscription. And yeah, as a special thank you for attending today, we'd like to offer you 1 month of the new version of RealSam Pocket as well.
Thank you, Louise. What an offer. So hopefully people will take advantage of some of that. If you'd like to take that further, give Louise or the team, of course, a call at RealSam and quote Webinar Wednesday, and the guys will happily set you up. Okay, last check in with Carl before we go.
We have Lisa Redford, last hand. If you'd like to unmute yourself,
last
Lisa.
hand of the day, Lisa. You've got the honor of being the last hand.
Possibly, or you will literally be the last hand. I'm going to give you a countdown, Lisa.
We're having all sorts of issues with people's hands today, I think.
Hang on.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Here we are.
I've got to 2 as well in my head.
I just wonder, could we have that phone number again, please?
Of course, yeah. So 01733 514612.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's also jump on our website. It's the number that's on the corner of the website as well. So it's the main RealSam number.
Yeah, I was just having a look. It's very prominent on the main page as well. And Carl has kindly put it into chat as well for anyone who wants to grab it before we finish up the session. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thanks sincerely to Louise and Martin. Very much appreciate you guys joining us. Please come back again because you're doing really interesting things and we'd like to keep in touch with what you're doing. So we wish you continued success. Thanks to everybody for joining Webinar Wednesday today. Remember, we're back in 2 weeks with the Social Hub on the 17th of February. So join us for that on Thursday, the 17th. Back in with Webinar Wednesday on Wednesday, the 2nd of March. But until then, from Carl and myself, take care. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.